President Trump has stunned the world once again, brokering an historic peace deal between Morocco and Algeria, with UN backing prompting many to ask, is the president now becoming the ultimate global peacemaker? For more, let's head to Sydney. We're joined by Professor Tim Harcourt from UTS. Good to see you. How did Trump manage to secure peace between Morocco and Algeria, and what has been the problem?
All we are saying is give peace a chance. He's sort of done it again on the back of his Thai Cambodian triumph. Look, it's interesting. This has been stirring for a long time, and in fact, it's partly to do with Morocco having a claim over Western Sahara, the Algerians pushing back, and borders closed and quite a lot of tension. Traditionally, United States has supported Morocco, and Algeria is being supported by Russia, China and Iran, and that's where a lot of the tension has been. The Biden administration went softly on this because they're a bit concerned about upsetting Russia and China and Iran in Algeria, but the Trump administration has managed to get a deal between Algeria and the King of Morocco, and also the UN and the EU now supports it.
So a lot of people who ask where the UN is at the moment. What role did the UN play in, formalising taking part in the agreement?
Look, I think most of the heavy lifting had been done by the King of Morocco and the US administration, and the EU is supporting the deal. The UN has given it endorsement, which they like, but they weren't really at the nitty-gritty stage, although it could be said that they've kept things reasonably calm. There is a separatist group in Western Sahara that is still, pushing back with a lot of traditional anti-imperialist type of rhetoric. But I think the Moroccan economy and its strength and the King's overtures to protect Jews in Morocco and to forge good ties with Israel. I noticed that Benjamin Netanyahu gave a big endorsement to the King of Morocco today and the Moroccan deal.
Do you see this as part of a broader diplomatic comeback for Trump?
Look, I think so, and also I think it's partly a change in the Middle East and North Africa, where you see again and again the moderate Arab nations wanting to deal with Israel directly after what's happened in Gaza with Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis. And even separate to that, because Morocco is very distinct in North Africa, very distinct from the Gulf, for instance. They've been really pushing for normalisation with Israel for a long time, and to improve relationships with the United States and the EU. Morocco's got a pretty large manufacturing base. It's building pipelines. It's building renewable energy. Power up to the UK, pipelines through Nigeria and West Africa. So it's quite exciting what's happening in the Moroccan economy, and stabilising this with Algeria is an important part of locking in that prosperity.
How significant do you think is Morocco's vow to protect Jewish communities and also Israel?
Well, I think that's made a big difference. I think, again, you have another Muslim nation saying they want to deal with Israel. The King's been really clear that he wants to protect the Jewish community, and anyone who attacks, any anti-Semitic attacks will be punished. And also, in a brighter side, he's led Muslim and Jewish prayers each night in Morocco, and also amongst the Moroccan and Jewish communities in the United States and Europe. So in some ways, it could be a sign of better times in the Middle East and North Africa, with the King of Morocco, taking the lead.
Which was my next question. Do you think we are right now witnessing a genuine transformation in the Middle East?
I think the potential's there now. I think the fact the Trump administration and Jared Kushner and so on got pretty good buy-in for the peace deal. Now we know there's still skirmishes in Gaza and a lot of tension, but it seems that a lot of the moderate Arab, Muslim, North African nations like Morocco have wanted to deal with Israel for economic reasons, but also I think they've seen that Israel's also militarily and technologically a superpower in the region, and it's probably better to get peace and prosperity than to keep feuding for another thousands of years.
Yes, and there are a lot of cynics, obviously. So do you see that this peace deal could actually inspire similar diplomacy in Asia, another region with a lot of tension?
I think so, Aaron. I mean, we saw that with the Thai-Cambodia deal in ASEAN, that the Trump administration got a lot of praise from Malaysia for that, and we saw the Indonesian president, of course, at the peace conference in Cairo. So there's quite a lot of good signs there in Asia, and that was quite significant, leading up, of course, to the Xi Trump bilateral at the end of the week. So we never know how the world can change quickly with flashpoints, but it seems that there've been some quite good measures towards peace in Middle East and North Africa and in ASEAN. So that's a good sign.
What do you think is next for Trump's, I guess, foreign policy ambitions? Because while there's a lot of good signs and a lot of relationships that are improving between nations, thanks to US brokered peace deals, there's still Ukraine and Russia.
There's still Ukraine and Russia. We're hoping that Gaza holds, but that's that there's some tensions there. I think also it's interesting to see to what extent was the US strike on Iran, the surgical strike that we saw that crippled Iran's nuclear facilities, or potentially, to what extent that allows Trump to have some space to, to deal with the Chinese relationship that seems to be so important to the global economy. He's been trying to settle down Russia and Ukraine as well, so he can concentrate on China and the Asia Pacific. But of course, the Russia-Ukraine situation just keeps grinding on.
Yes, it does. Where do you think Vladimir Putin stands at this stage? Because we've seen another major attack on a Russian pipeline over the weekend from Ukraine. They're doing pretty well. There's a question about tomahawks. And that's probably one where we should dissect, because Trump said a few weeks ago that the US needed to retain the tomahawks for its own stockpiles. Over the past few days, the Pentagon coming out saying, actually, we got enough, and they've given approval for it. Is this just another bargaining chip, or do you think we actually will see Ukraine have tomahawks that can strike even deeper, potentially Moscow?
Well, I guess it's a bargaining chip for now. I've been just having a look at an update of Geoffrey Blaney, the Australian historian's famous book, The Causes of War. And in nearly every case, going back to the Napoleon's wars, I was going to say Napoleonic wars, nations that start wars think they'll get it done pretty quickly, and it drags out, and they often underestimate the opposition. And we've seen that with Russia, Ukraine. We've seen that in different world wars, and it seems it's all playing out again. There were probably people in Russia that thought they were going to conquer Ukraine pretty quickly. But Ukraine keeps digging in there with some limited help, but they're fighting pretty well, given that they haven't really had the full thrust of support from the Allies.
So Donald Trump ends up with a lot of international influence, obviously. We are seeing a lot of bowing down to him and a lot of agreement and people welcoming him. I'm sure there's a huge list of countries that would love him to come and visit now. What does he do with that influence, do you think?
Well, I think he's really concentrated on the flashpoints and done reasonably well. I still think the dark cloud of the tariffs. I mean, you can make peace everywhere, but if you're punishing countries, producers and consumers, and American producers and consumers, that's a dark cloud. I think if there was some sort of loosening up and peace in the trade war, I think that would be the best thing that President Trump could do with all this goodwill, and it might even be better, for his constituency at home as well.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Professor Tim Harcourt, host of the Airport Economist channel right here on Ticker. Download the app, watch the channel. We always appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it.